Hi, everybody. Welcome to our webinar, How to Improve Driver Engagement and Retention Through Survey Insights. My name is Leah Kelly, and today we are super excited to show you our new solution in retaining drivers through the use of surveys so that you can just stop wondering why your drivers are leaving and get the insights that you need to illuminate the areas of your business that need your attention. So today we just want to show you how easy it can be to keep drivers happy, keep them longer, and see the success that everybody deserves. So, let's see. Today is everybody able to see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, so today I want to share with you a little about why the market has become so tough lately. After we do our introductions, just want to talk a little bit about market and driver pains. Want to talk to you about what drivers are experiencing and the common pains from which they want to find relief. And then the importance of getting that driver feedback early so you can get started correcting the issues earlier rather than later. What makes our new insights solution unique? And we'll touch briefly on the different survey types that are included. And then we'll get to the good stuff. Not that that's not good stuff, but we'll get to the actual demonstration of insights, followed by our live Q&A. Okay, first I want to introduce you to our speakers today. I'm joined by Tim Hindes, the CEO of StayMetrics. StayMetrics has been, as many of you know, helping clients achieve driver retention through the use of surveys and rewards and training programs since 2012, and they're now part of the 10th Street family. Tim has more than 3 decades of experience in the trucking industry. During that time, he's been an owner-operator, he's a dispatcher, and the owner, I believe, of a logistics firm. And Elizabeth Sontag is 10th Street's director of product. She's been working in the industry for more than 12 years. She started as a driver recruiter before joining the 10th Street team originally as an account manager. And she still loves working with clients to make sure their workflow and processes are optimized for the way that they do business. So this is our first webinar we've had to showcase our joint retention solution we've worked hard together to create since the acquisition in November. So we are really just chomping at the bit here to show you everything. We're really excited to share this with you today, and we appreciate your time. I know you guys are busy, so thank you so much for being here. Just a couple of housekeeping items. Know that this webinar will be recorded and sent to you within the next 24 hours, so don't worry if you get interrupted or you have to leave. You can, rest assured that you'll get this recording in an email tomorrow. And then if you have questions at any point, go ahead and just ask them. Type them into the GoToWebinar question box. You can see that in the GoToWebinar questions panel, and then we'll get to those at the live Q&A at the end of the webinar. Okay, and then one more thing I want to mention, more great news. We are going back to Vegas next year in 2022. Woohoo! So April 20th to April 23rd, we'll be back at the Bellagio, so save those dates. We are going to have our annual user conference there, and we are beyond ready to start seeing our clients in person again. I don't know about you guys, but it's going to be great. We're going to share with you our product roadmap, some solutions, all of our solutions across the board, and just catch up with all of you. It'll be such a good time. So we want to see you there. Make sure you save those dates, and then just watch your login notices at the events and the events page for the agenda and registration information, which is coming soon. And that is it from me. Take it away, Tim.
Thank you. Testing 1, 2. Can you hear me okay?
We can hear you.
Okay, great. Thank you. Good afternoon, and thank you, Leah, for the introduction. As Leah said, my name is Tim Hindes, but one correction, I'm now the former founder and CEO of StayMetrics. We're very excited. I'm very excited to now be the general manager for the 10th Street retention products. So, we're very excited. We're very proud to show you this is our first joint venture product that you're about to see. And, the acquisition of StayMetrics by 10th Street, and people have asked me, Tim, what was the thought process in terms of basically selling the company to 10th Street? And really what it was is we, as many of you know, StayMetrics became the leader in retention with somewhat of a we got feedback, somewhat of a complex model. And we were very effective, but we lacked IT and product and sales support. So about a little over a year ago, I started kind of looking at the market, and we started having conversations, and it just became so obvious that 10th Street, being a leader in recruiting, and really recruiting and retention is managed, really by a lot of the same people and organizations. Tim Crawford and myself started to have strategic conversations, and it didn't take long before this just makes too much sense. And here we are today. So super proud. Our team is very excited. All of our team members are still with us today. The same folks that were doing the great work for you before are still in today. So I want to talk about a little bit about the market conditions, market pains and driver pains, and what a year it's been. I don't have to tell the people on this call how difficult the labor market is, right? This is why everybody's here. But actually, it's not just this year. The labor market has been tight and tightening for quite some time. To the point that when I speak to the labor market, I'm speaking of the general labor market. And usually what we follow is we follow the trades, and we follow industries that actually compete with the trucking industry for labor. And the trades have been significantly short. At the same time, we're short. And really, we got a reprieve, we got a reprieve, and I'll speak to that in a little bit, right before COVID hit. As all of you would remember, about a year and a half ago, it wasn't that tough to get drivers, right? And we saw that as a lot of drivers came in the year before. That was in 2018 was a very good year for the industry to bring in new drivers. And largely, if you recall, in 18, the industry was in the news about the driver shortage almost weekly, right? And in 18, that news press got picked up by local affiliates all throughout the country. And there were weekly, in small markets, there were weekly interviews with drivers at truck stops about how well drivers liked the industry, liked the jobs, and how much money they were making. We saw that with a push of new drivers coming into the industry in 2019. And for those of you that have a good 18-month memory, you can remember that, yeah, it kind of felt like we had enough drivers. I mean, to the point where people were asking us at StayMetrics to help them build profile and screening, because for the first time and for like forever, they felt like they had enough drivers. Wow, what a difference a year and a half makes, right? So here we are today. And what are the market pains we're experiencing today? And what did we experience in the last 12 to 15 months? In no particular order. If we just go to the clearinghouse eliminations, that's huge. There's already the FMCSA reports that there's already 182,000 carriers are now signed up. So that's really big, and over 50,000 drivers have already been disqualified. So, we have that. That's just the beginning of what we're going to see with the clearinghouse. The second one on the list is the decline in school graduations. This was fascinating to me when I first saw it. Is back in about July. Back in July, we were seeing the beginning of drivers, more retirements and exits. And in July, I had conversations with the association directors of the two driver schools. There's one that's for profit and one that's not for profit. And I had conversations with them independently. And both of them at the time, their associations were producing 50%, 50%, of what they had the previous year. And that was a red alarm for me because of where we're going next. Because where we're going next is there were more retirements and exits. And where we saw that, and when we saw that, started to see that come in, was really right after we started to come back from being the initial lockdown of March, April. I was on the phone with carriers, and I recall a fairly large carrier in July of last year was excited because they had 90% of their drivers back. And I thought to myself, 90%? what 10%? What if we did lose 10? Oh my goodness. Now I talked to that carrier since, and they've taken that down to, they thought they lost an extra 3%. But still, we know that more drivers chose to retire. Either hey, they were close to retirement and they were just phooey on this, I'm going to retire early. We know that there were drivers that were driving that had intended to retire and just hadn't gotten around to it, so that we lost them as well. But then we also had people exiting the industry that went home and never came back out, as many of you have experienced as well. You know, drivers that went home during the pandemic for whatever reason, health concerns of a loved one, they never came back out into the industry. So that's what actually we're feeling today. And how do carriers tell us that feels? It doesn't pale to 2018, Tim. The 2018 shortage was nothing compared to what we're seeing now. So I applaud you for being on this call, but that going back to why it made sense for StayMetrics and 10th Street to put together, because really it does take a fantastic recruiting program with the best in class recruiting tools, and you're also from now on really going to have the best in class retention moving forward, because that's what people are saying now. The only way I can hit my numbers, really, the only way I can grow is to improve retention, because quite honestly, we're missing our recruiting goals because the market is just so tight. So it's very tight on the market side. On the driver side, you know, driver pains, you know, when we look at driver pains, we've got, you know, unmet expectations, and this is kind of a tug of war type of thing. You know, the carriers are dealing with this, and there's unmet expectations from the driver. What does that mean? Unmet expectations is actually the #1 known reason why drivers leave. It was some work that Dr. Gita Lupke, University of Notre Dame, discovered actually at the first year checking out our data in 2013, and it continues to show up. What is unmet expectations? Let me share with you, because if you haven't heard of this concept, it's something that you can master. And that is understanding your drivers when they come in, and during the recruiting process, what are you really looking for? And actually, one of the best questions you can ask in that area is, what are you leaving? What are you leaving behind? What are you frustrated with? What frustrated you so much about your last carrier that you had to leave? And then what is it about us that you're hoping to experience? And you know, that probably sounded a little bit awkward when I spoke to it, because who's in this environment, who's going to do that, right? Everybody wants to take, you know, if I've got a guy or a gal I can put in a truck, I'm going to put him in a truck. But people that have those discussions and can master those discussions are doing very well. Conversely, I would tell you, people that don't focus on really diving into what those drivers' expectations are don't do quite as well. You know, there's equipment issues. As we're out there now in this market, drivers actually can have their pick, right, so to speak, of if drivers want to leave for better equipment, they can. Why? Because about everybody's hiring right now. So you know, this is causing carriers to make sure that their equipment issues are taken care of, that their maintenance is at the highest level it can be. So that driver, with that driver experiences with that carrier, satisfaction with the equipment, not frustration. And that's becoming more and more of an issue. And then low pay is there, but really low pay is that's kind of a low pay is really rarely the reason somebody will leave. It's usually pay, but it's miles. It's usually miles. So you're trying to juggle that as well. And then better work-life balance. Better work-life balance. You know, as you're looking at each one of the carriers out there, it's looking at how do I improve my work-life balance, and should I be focusing on that as a carrier? The answer is yes, because the majority of carriers out there are actually focusing on it as well. So, you know, what does that mean? I mean, we've got carriers whose model used to be 21 days out on the road. and now it's about 16 or 17, right? Because they've been able to shave some of that off. So they're working on improving home time. They're working on scheduling home time, just really making sure that they're getting a pulse. Now, while those are the main, some of the main driver pains are different for each carrier. So they're going to differ, but it is definitely, a very tight market out there. And drivers really drivers are in control right now. They can kind of go wherever they would like. Let me take a peek here and make sure that I covered everything on this page, and then maybe Leah, I'll ask you to go to the next one. Yeah, let's go to the next one. Let's go to the next slide. So the next slide is, hopefully you can see this. If you're on a small monitor, it's going to be a little bit tough. But the importance of focusing on insights early. So early insights, when your drivers are first getting going, take a look at how many drivers. Notice at 90 days, historically, 30% of drivers are already gone, right? So that's huge. What if you could reduce that to 25%? What if you could reduce it to 20%? Well, this means growth for you, right? So the strategy is to really keep your recruiting engine going as big and as loud as you can, but at the same time, you're laser focused on improving this index. What is this index? Let me speak to this a bit. So this is what we coined as the stay days table. This is probably about 3 years old. It's in several iterations. And you can think of this kind of maybe like the Dow index, the Dow Jones index. What we've basically taken is 30 carriers that we have followed and we tracked, and their reporting on their activations and deactivations is very high quality. So we can count on their data. So we track these carriers, and we find that this is a survivability chart. What this tells you is what percentage of the drivers are still there after 7 days. So you can see, as an example, if we look at December 2020, 93% or 99.3% are still there at 7 days. Let's go ahead and look at the 60 days for October. You can see that 68% of drivers are still there at 60 days. So that's how to read the table. We know that many of you are seeing better retention in these times, and you can actually see that in the chart, right? And you're seeing, better retention rates this year. But understand, improving retention is the key to growth in 21, as far as we can forecast. And then, why is this happening? Why why is what happening? Why are we seeing improved retention right now? This is very similar to 2018. If you recall, in 2018, retention got pretty good, but that was what I call a pay year, and it was a big pay year. So pay had changed. Most carriers in 2018, every carrier did at least one rate increase for their drivers. And it was not uncommon for many carriers to give 2 rate increases. And what we see with pay, when pay moves big in a year, drivers stick around. Okay, and it's not necessarily that. There's a couple of reasons for that. One is, hey, I just got a raise, right? So they're doing better than they were. And then, it's the devil you know versus the devil you don't know. So, when you see a year where, everybody's making pay moves, don't get too excited when you see retention improve for that year, because it kind of goes hand in hand. Another thing I want to touch base on is a great best practice for carriers to do is to build one of these charts for yourself. Build a stay days table for your company. Now we build these, StayMetrics builds these for our carriers, and depending on what suite of retention services you're on, you may or may not have us build one of these. But even if we don't, it's a very good idea for you to know. Let's say you decide, hey, I'm going to track all my drivers, and I'm going to track what percentage leaving are still there in 30 days, what percentage are 60 days, and 120 days. And then every quarter, this data is put out and you'll see Leah and her team at 10th Street will be putting this out on the schedule. And what you would do on this, what I would suggest one of the strategies would be against the index and see how you do, and set goals to improve. Okay, so let's go on to the next slide then, Leah. Okay, so what makes Insights unique? So this product here that you're seeing, this is the first joint product, but what we wanted to make it easy to adopt, right? So for those of you that are familiar with the StayMetrics platform, from the time a carrier would sign with us to the time we delivered our first survey was oftentimes 45 to 60 days, because there's a lot of surveys and detail work in our core products that really require a longer setup time. That was frustrating to the market, and quite honestly, it was frustrating to us as well. We had lacked some technology, we had lacked some process and some product knowledge. And kudos to Elizabeth Sontag and the team at 10th Street, because very quickly they understood that. And now, when I say easy to adopt, if you're on the phone with a 10th Street sales rep and you like Insights, literally it's one switch for them to get you turned on. That's it. And then the other thing that was actually pointed out by one of our larger clients that both of us share is that we thought that making it easier for drivers, right, that they can do it on mobile and they can do it on the Pulse app, was really going to make a difference. And while this product is just exiting the beta stage, it's already coming to fruition that absolutely the results that we're seeing in terms of the completion ratios are very impressive. And then easy to analyze, right? We wanted to make this product, this is kind of the entry-level survey product, but we wanted to give you a product that you didn't have to get a PDF delivered to you, or you didn't have to analyze the data yourself. So you'll see that some great work has gone into that, and we're pretty excited to show you what that looks like. And then let's go into the different types of surveys a little bit, spend a little bit of time on that, and then we'll turn it over. If I go to the next slide, there's three types of surveys, and I'll spend a little bit of time and what they do and what their kind of their mission is. And the origins of these first two are some work that we did with a researcher by the name of John Kameyer Mueller from the University of Minnesota. And John has been studying early turnover for 25 years. And he's really the one that turned us on years ago to, hey, if you want to improve retention, yeah, we do. Okay, start with the new people and start with first impressions. And so the first impression survey is usually a survey that's done about at day 7. And what it does is basically just that. It gives you a really good feel of the first impressions that driver has of your organization. And that's key. And then the second is the early experience. So now let me back up on first impressions a little bit. First impressions is key because it has a lot to do with a driver's aligning in his mind how well he or she thinks that they did picking a match for themselves with the carrier. So it's that expectation that that driver has in his head, and after day 7, how does he feel? How does he or she feel about is this the place for me? And then the early experience is really it's day 30 to day 45 is when we suggest you do those. And in that area on the early experience, that is going to tell you is how well you're keeping your recruiting promises, basically. So super key. Those two areas are very critical. And then the ongoing experience. The ongoing experience is really a survey that goes out to your, typically you would send this one out to your entire fleet, and you're going to get the responses, and you're going to be able to see where those responses hit, and then just you're going to be able to set goals and then see what that looks like on a quarterly basis and then on a yearly basis. And typically what we see people doing is setting goals to improve scores in certain areas. So that's on the 3 types of surveys. In closing, before I turn it over, I want to again thank Leah and Elizabeth for the opportunity to join. And I want to share how absolutely proud I am and our team members are to be part of the 10th Street family. You know, a perfect example is you know, there's a lot of people on this call right now that are 10th Street clients that basically I think you guys have shared with 10th Street that, hey, we'd like to see more on the retention space. And that's what we're here today to talk about. And I'm going to turn it over now to one of our key product managers and product thought leaders, Elizabeth Sontag.
Thank you so much, Tim. That was so informational and thorough, and you did a great job of explaining all of those slides. That was fantastic. I'm going to pass the controls over to Elizabeth. Let's see, here we go. Do you see that, Elizabeth?
I do. Are you able to see my screen?
Yes. Great.
Great. Okay. Well, I'm going to jump in and I'm going to give you a demonstration of the survey tool within the dashboard. And so for users that have access to the tool, you can go to your tools menu and then you can click on your survey results. When an account manager turns you on and you're ready to start your survey, then you can go right up to the top and click on the gear. And clicking on the gear is going to give you the ability to configure and turn on the 2 surveys for the first impression and the early experience. These will be defaulted off, but you have the ability to come in and toggle those on. And then you have a couple of requirements that you need to complete to make sure that the surveys are ready to go. So you're looking for drivers that are going to be in a hired status. And so we'll select hired for you. But if you have a different status that means hired, you can move that right over and it would select those drivers as well to send the survey. You can also manage work lists. So if you have driver work list and non-driver work list, you can select and unselect work list for the appropriate drivers that you would want to receive the survey. If you leave it at the default with everything unselected, it will actually send the survey to every work list. So it's just when you need to make adjustments to it, then you can go in and select the appropriate work list. The last thing you'll see at the bottom is when you want to send the survey out. So do you want to send it out at 7 days after hire, 10 days, or 14 days? And so you can adjust that however you would like. And then you click update, and that will turn that survey on for you. And the way the survey works is that once you have a driver in 10th Street that you move to the appropriate status, the hired status, it will then automatically schedule that survey 7 days, 10 days, or 14 days. So you automatically will send that survey out to them, and then they can complete that information, and it will come back in the system. The survey works today where it doesn't go backwards, so it's just looking at people from the time you turn it on forward to send that survey out to. You have the same options for the early experience, so you can adjust the status, the work list, and then you can say, do I want to send it at 45 days, 50 days, or 55 days? And then clicking update, making sure you toggle it on, and then clicking update. That survey will then be scheduled for anybody that's been hired at that time frame. All right, now digging in to see the data, you'll have 2 tabs. You'll have a survey detail tab and a driver detail tab. Under the survey detail tab, you're going to see an activity recap. And everywhere in the system, you're going to see filters for the different types of surveys. So you're able to really drill down into a specific survey if you would like to, or you can view all of the data. So when I look at the activity recap, the chart is going to show me the amount of people that have been invited, who is completed, and how many surveys I have that are pending. It will also give a response rate. In the chart, I have the ability to see the survey volumes over the last 6 months. So I can see in a chart how many people are invited and how many surveys were completed. Next to the activity recap, I have the net driver score. Again, I have the filters so I can drill down to one specific survey, but the chart will show me in the last 30 days how many supporters, how many detractors, and what was my net driver score. And charting right next to that, it's going to show me my trend for my net driver score. So I can see how I've done over the past, if I'm trending up or if I'm trending down, and I can see that information. Below that, it's going to give me the question categories. And so question categories are each one of the questions on all of the surveys. But I can drill into each survey individually, and I can select a time frame. So if I'm wanting to look at information for the last 1 month, 3 months, 6 months, or 1 year, I have an additional filter option here. We have a little key here that gives you your score information. The drivers are going to see on the survey strongly agree to strongly disagree as responses that they can give. So when you're looking at the question for working after 1 month, I can see that my average score is 3.58. I've had 115 responses, and I've had 25 issues raised. The issues raised are going to be anybody that answers with a strongly disagree or a disagree. But I can see that my average score is right at 3.58. So I'm right between an agree and a neutral. I can then click into the question if I want to dive in. So I'm going to click into the working after 1 month, and it's going to pull up the question for me. I can sort this by survey. So this question is on all 3 surveys. So if I want to see the data just for first impressions, I can click on that and it will reload the screen. I can then see the score and how many people answered the question with each response. And then that data is also charted. And scrolling down, I can see all of the drivers that have completed the survey. And I'm able to sort that data. So I can sort it based on the answer, the date that the survey was responded to. In this instance, it's sorted by name. So I can see that Adele had completed the survey, the first impression survey, and was neutral. But next I can see that Alex completed the early experience and strongly disagreed. And so I can click on Alex's name to drill into his survey. And what this will do is it will give me the early experience survey that Alex completed. I can see how he responded to all of the questions. And if I wanted to reach out to Alex, I can click on the blue box here and it will open up their subject view immediately. So I have a way to see all of the questions, the responses, and any comments they may have left on the survey. I can drill in for each one of those on every question that's available in the survey. I'm going to scroll back up and I can see the driver details. So when I'm clicking into the driver details, this is going to give me a list of all of the drivers that have been scheduled for a survey. So I can see all of their information, what survey they were scheduled for, when it was scheduled, what the status is of it, and when it was completed. If it's completed, again, I can click in and I can click on Adele and see Adele's survey. So I can see the question, the survey date. I can get right to Adele's subject view and all of the questions and answers and any final comments. So I can drill into each one of those surveys to see all of that information. And just pointing out here, I can see all of my different survey options, so I can drill into each one of those, or I can set my time frame for anything that I would like. So the tool is really easy to use. It gives you the data that you would want to drill into, and you can click through to see all of that information. An additional option that you can do is if you do choose to have the surveys come in as a document as well, you could attach that document to that driver, and you could set up some categories and things along those lines. So you'll have the surveys in the tool, and then you can also have surveys in the documents tab if you would like. All right, Leah, I'm going to turn it back over to you if there are any questions.
Okay, thanks, Elizabeth. That was awesome. We do have some really great questions. Let's see. So for those drivers who have not opted into Driver Pulse app yet, are they able to take the surveys?
Absolutely, yes. So it will send them a message through Driver Pulse, or if it can't reach them through Driver Pulse, it can also send a text and an email. And on top of that, it will send a reminder to the drivers every day for 10 days straight, just reminding them if they have not completed one of the surveys.
Okay, yeah, good, thank you. And then what about the question set for insights? Are those customizable, or are they all generated, auto-generated, or how does that work? How are those selected?
You want me to take that one?
Sure, yeah.
Okay, sure, I'll take that one. The questions, what you're seeing here on the questions on insights is these are an abbreviated, these are the basic questions of the stay metrics early and first and ongoing. So the questions that you see here cannot be modified. They are what they are. Now there's other packages that you could move to that would allow you more flexibility, but these questions are not flexible.
And then there is some concern about if the driver is going to remain anonymous. And they're concerned that that there may be some retaliation against the driver, or there'll, some kind of negative repercussion. And how are we addressing that?
Sure. That's a great one. This is not an anonymous. This is not an anonymous. And quite honestly, if it's done right, which most carriers do, it shouldn't be, because you really want the driver to know. Let's say you're in orientation, right? And this is when you're going to explain this, by the way, to your drivers, that in orientation you're going to tell them, hey, we use 10 street surveys, and you're going to get, and you'll explain that, and you'll explain the importance of them taking it when they get it. But you'll also explain to them that, hey, this is how we get better, and we want your feedback, and our intention here is for us to meet your needs. And if we're not meeting your needs, we want to know about it, and we want to work with you. So, really quite the opposite, Leah. This is actually a way for a driver to be able to give his concerns and have that concern worked. The problem with the other one, the anonymous one, is you kind of feel like you're chasing ghosts. You get a piece of feedback, and what do I do with it? Should I move on it? Is it just one guy? You can't fix it because it's anonymous, right? So ours are not, ours are not designed that way. Ours are designed to be able to use as a tool to intervene and save that driver.
Yeah, good point. Are there going to be, so we have, these 3 survey types. What about exit surveys?
Excellent question.
That's a great one.
There you go. Take that one, please.
Stay tuned for sure. That is something that is an enhancement that is coming to the tool very soon.
Okay, awesome. Yes, this is just the first iteration of it, and we're super excited to get it out there for you guys. But yeah, there's definitely going to be some enhancements to it. So looking through the questions, there's a couple questions about pricing, and just you're going to want to reach out to your advisor or to sales@10street.com if you don't have an advisor at this point, and talk to them a little bit about the problem that you're trying to solve. It's going to be different for everybody as far as how the pricing works. So those conversations can be had individually. Is there an ability for a driver to opt out? I'm going to say they would just go ahead and not take the survey, would be how they would opt out. On the other side of that, what is the question of if there's any incentive, if drivers are incentivized to complete surveys?
Stay tuned.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
That's another enhancement that's coming.
Good. Look at all the ideas people are. See, look at we're on the right track. Huh? They're asking the right questions.
Yeah, that's what I love about these is that people do have, a lot of times we've thought about these enhancements and haven't gotten them in yet. And a lot of times we have not thought about it at all. And it takes the people who are out in the field who know to give us that kind of feedback that we need to make these services the best they can be.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't see a lot of questions that I haven't.
Let me just speak a little bit to the pricing logic. Yes, and we want everybody to get with their 10th Street reps, and everybody's got, price is going to vary depending on several factors. But this product was designed as entry level, and it will do a lot of this product will be fine for a high number of carriers. It's going to be very, if you're using a SurveyMonkey tool today, you're trying to do it on your own, or you're doing the question the question of the day or the suggestion box, or just you're going to find that this product has got so much more to offer for a very economical. It was designed to have an economical entry point. So I think you're going to like it.
Right, right. It's if you ever wanted to get started in using surveys, this is how you do it. This is the first step. It makes it really easy to get started. Some people are asking how they can get to the screen that Elizabeth is showing, and so you would have to have that turned on. You'd have to call your advisor or your salesperson or your account manager, reach out to them, and they can get you started. They'll have to flip a switch, like Tim said earlier. It is just one switch, and you've got the whole thing in front of you. So there's no not a lot of input that you need to provide. It's super easy to set up. So that is how you get started. And that's how you'd be able to see the survey screen. Okay. I think we're at a good point. Yeah, I don't see anything else here. If anyone has any questions, be sure to send them in. If you think of some later, absolutely send those out too. Send them to your advisor, to your salesperson, to your account manager, or to me, anybody that you want to talk to. Just send them over and we'll make sure that they get answered. So don't worry if you think of them after you hang up from the phone call, you can always reach out later. And also know that this webinar is being recorded. It's going to be sent out to you at the end of tomorrow, actually, but in 24 hours, you'll get the recording of this webinar so you can watch it again. Or if you missed part of it, you can watch it from the beginning. There is a question about if a driver can leave additional comments. And I think that's just, yeah.
Yeah.
So at the bottom of every survey, they do have the option to put in additional comments, and that information is available whenever you're clicking in and looking at surveys. At the bottom of each survey, you're going to be able to see all of those comments that they may have left.
And so can they type in additional concerns that aren't asked explicitly in the survey?
Yep, it's a free form box, so they could type in any information in there that they would like, any questions or comments or anything like that.
Great, great. And how long are the surveys?
Elizabeth, you want to go ahead and take that one?
I think each survey is about 10 questions, and so they're fairly short, but they're each about 10 questions. We have a list of those questions too, so it's something that you're interested in. When you reach out to your advisor, they can send you a list of all of the questions that are in the surveys.
Okay, there's also a great question, which is interestingly timed, I feel like, considering what we talked about this morning, but about uploading a picture of bad equipment, for example, to the survey.
Elizabeth, you want to?
That's not here yet.
Right.
It's another one of those stay tuned things. So thank you for that. Thank you for bringing that up. And I think that's it. I'm going to go ahead and call it. And I want to thank everybody for showing up. Thank you so much for giving us your time. Like Tim said, it's pretty rough out there right now. So we know that you're busy trying to get those drivers. So we appreciate your time even more for joining us and giving us an opportunity to tell you how we can help solve those problems so you can keep your drivers a little longer. And thank you, Tim and Elizabeth.
Thank you. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Everybody have a great weekend. We will talk to you a little later on and next week as well.
Have a great weekend. Take care, all.
Thanks, everybody. Bye.